I just got to go check out The Monkey. This is the brand new film from Osgood Perkins, aka Oz Perkins, aka the same guy that recently directed Longlegs. Literally just like 6 months ago released that movie. Here he is with his brand new film, The Monkey, which he has written for the big screen. Of course, it is an adaptation of a Stephen King short story about this monkey that, well, yeah, if you turn the key on the monkey and it begins playing the drums, well, people around the monkey start dying. It's a movie with a concept that actually ends up being pretty simple, in the sense that this is essentially a Final Destination movie mixed with about 15 other genres. Seriously, this is a Frankenstein's monster type of movie. It is Final Destination meets Stephen King's high concept type of writing, meets Oz Perkins' very, very noticeable visual style, meets She-Hulk. Yeah, She-Hulk's in here. And overall, I had a really good time with this movie. It's a movie that I was very much looking forward to. This is one of my more anticipated films of the year just because of how much I really loved Longlegs and how excited I was to see what Oz Perkins would do next to follow it up. Even though it's such a short period of time. I mean, they released 2 movies in this short amount of time is really, really impressive, especially in modern Hollywood, when some filmmakers take like 6 years to make one freaking movie. But what really impressed me about this movie that I didn't expect going into it is just how much of a diversion this is for Oz Perkins. I mean, Longlegs, if you've seen that movie, is an extremely dark serial killer mystery movie. It's a movie that blends sort of the supernatural with reality in a way that makes the movie feel so grounded, gritty, and utterly terrifying. Now, there are some silly elements to it. I mean, if you consider Nick Cage's performance to be super silly, that's fine, but it's silly in like a overly melodramatic silly way. That movie is super serious, super dark, and in my opinion, extremely creepy. Now, this movie, on the other hand, is silly on purpose. This is not a melodramatic movie. This is straight up a comedy, which might piss some people off that go into this movie thinking it's going to be a dark horror film like Oz Perkins' last movie, or like some of the trailers had suggested. The marketing campaign of this movie is a little bit deceptive in the sense that this is not really a horror film. It is a slasher, gore-fest comedy that has some Osgood Perkins horror elements sprinkled throughout. The basic plot of this movie is we follow Theo James, who plays these 2 twins that when they were kids, they stumbled upon this mechanical wind-up monkey, this monkey that was passed down to them from their father. And whenever they turn the key on this monkey, the monkey begins playing the drums, and when it finishes playing those drums, somebody dies in a very Final Destination type way. If you haven't seen Final Destination, what I mean by that is somebody dies in a crazy, unlucky circumstance. It's kind of like a domino effect that leads to a person dying in a ridiculous way. It's not like some gigantic demon monster comes out and kills the person. No, just circumstances are created that lead to the person's death. Which, of course, leads to Oz Perkins getting to do some really creative and interesting things in this film. Not the most creative I've seen in a movie like this. I still feel like some of those Final Destination movies really take it very, very far, but there are a few kills in this movie that are very creative. Some other ones that felt like they were running out of budget money and they were just like, let's just blow them up, essentially, is kind of how those went, but a lot of the stuff early in this film, the kills specifically, and at the end of the movie, like literally the last shot, are really terrific. The basic plot of this movie, though, is about fatherhood, and Theo James trying to be a father and trying to keep this monkey out of the life of his children or his child. And there is like a very, very simple plot here, and it's very clear that this is a short story, that there is not much plot to be delivered here. It's a concept that in the first 20 minutes, the audience is sinking their teeth into, like, wow, this is a really cool concept, I'm excited to see where it goes, and then like the following 20 minutes, right, the middle of this movie, is really setting up what the plot actually is, except there really isn't much of a plot there, so then it takes a very long time to kind of get to that third act, but once you're there, there is a fun, explosive third act to be had here. My only problem with the movie, as I've been saying, though, is just that this does feel like a short story that has been stretched into a hour and 30-minute long movie, and by that, I mean there's just not a lot of story. The story is extraordinarily simple here, especially when it comes to its characters and what's actually transpiring, which is why a lot of this movie just feels like it's sort of lingering. But the first 20 minutes of this movie would have made like the best 20-minute short film I've ever seen in my life. They are terrific. During the first 20 minutes, I was preparing this video to be called The Monkey is a Masterpiece, because my god, that first 20 minutes is amazing. And yeah, She-Hulk is here. She's really damn good in this movie. But there's just like some really good kills, some really good comedic scenes. I mean, there's a scene in a church that is hilarious. Probably the hardest laugh a movie's gotten out of me in a movie theater, or like the loudest laugh I've heard come out of a theater in general in a long time. That scene was so funny. Because Oz Perkins is able to merge like these 2 different styles of filmmaking, like his style, which is very much this, you know, static camera, really dark cinematography, really precise framing that is meant to make you feel uncomfortable, right? That really horror style of filmmaking that you saw in Longlegs. He does that here, but then he blends in this dialogue and these character moments that really don't fit in his cinematography, but that kind of mismatchedness to it kind of elevates the comedy of some of these silly moments, and it makes it really work. It's one of the more interesting films I've ever seen because of that. This is filmed like a hardcore Longlegs style horror movie, but the dialogue and the characters and the stuff that's actually happening within the frames are not really that. And because of that, I call it this Frankenstein's monster of a movie that actually ends up working way better than it probably should have. The actual monkey itself and the design of it, it's not something that's going to keep you up at night. Like, this is not going to be Annabelle 2.0. I mean, at least it wasn't for me, maybe for some people. But it looks cool. It looks like a cool movie plot that I'm sure the studio is praying to God can turn into a massive franchise. They don't do that. Theo James is really good in this movie, balancing these two different characters. He's also just having such a fun time in this role, you could tell immediately. And because of that, you, the audience, are having fun. This whole movie in general is just fun. It's dark, it's brutal, but it's fun. It's silly, it's entertaining, it's paced well enough that you're never really going to be bored outside of maybe a little bit in the middle. But this is a solid movie, an extremely solid follow-up to Longlegs, and I give Oz Perkins so much respect to go out after making a film like Longlegs and to do something like this, because it would have been very easy for Oz Perkins to say, hey, I'm going to be the Longlegs guy. Every movie I make from here on out is going to be this dark horror, this extremely dark and scary horror film that is meant to literally terrorize audiences. Like, it would be very, very easy to do that, but instead he said, I'm going to do something very different. I'm going to merge my style into a different sort of genre and make something that's extremely unique, and I appreciate that. I also would like to see him make more terrifying horror movies like Longlegs, because I think he might be the best when it comes to just a visual horror filmmaker at the moment. I think, and this is a prediction, you can call me wrong in a few years if this ends up not being true. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, Osgood Perkins is probably going to put out what is the best horror movie of this generation. His style, his writing, everything about him, he is such a great filmmaker, and I think his next one, or maybe the one after that, is going to be one of the best we've ever gotten. And I love Longlegs. I think it's an incredible movie, but I think he's going to elevate that and elevate a lot of the stuff that he maybe even learned as a filmmaker in The Monkey and make something that's truly horrifying. I would also like to see him make more stuff like this that's silly. This is a damn good filmmaker. He's one of those filmmakers that's now in auto-watch. He releases a movie, I'm going to be there to see it on day one. So I'm going to give The Monkey a 4 out of 5, the highest rating I've given out to a 2025 movie so far. So yeah, this is #1 movie of the year so far. Still got a lot of months to go, so we'll see if it holds. What do you guys think of The Monkey? Let me know down below. What do you guys think of Longlegs? I love that movie. Make sure to like this video, subscribe for more, turn on notifications. I'll see you in the next one.